I want to thank Haley Miller, who reached out to me. Actually, I accepted this before I even knew really what the conference was. I was like, Queen's University, yeah, okay, sure, I'll do it. And then I saw who was there, General's Doctor. I'm like, what am I doing here? A friend of mine said, are you just going to improvise like you normally do? I said, no, I wrote something, and now I'll read it to you. It's about 20 minutes or so, depending on the reactions. I'll open the floor to questions later, but here's my beautiful speech. Monday, September 10th, 2001, I was seated in an office on the 32nd floor of Place Ville Marie, interviewing to be a stockbroker. I was talking to an arrogant-looking guy with a white shirt, cufflinks, you know the guy. He was asking me questions he knew I didn't know the answers to. He seemed to get a sick pleasure out of that. But I improvised my way through it, and as I was leaving, he shook my hand and told me I skate well. I knew I had the job. Tuesday, September 11th, a guy I worked with walked by my desk and casually said, "Hey, Jason, a plane hit the World Trade Center." I was surprised, but before I could react, he walked away. I sat back and thought, what a terrible accident. How does that happen? But I pushed it out of my mind and I kept working. A few minutes later, the same guy came by again. This time he told me another plane hit the World Trade Center. I immediately thought two things. I remember this very clearly. I thought terrorist attack right away. And I also thought no one will ever be able to do it quite like that ever again. The idea of it struck me as, okay, they can't do that again. And I've lost countless keychains since then at airplane security, but no one will ever be able to do it like that ever again. I went home, saw the news. It was everywhere on every channel, billowing smoke coming out of the Twin Towers, constant loop. I can still see it in my head. But that's the first time terrorism affected my life, and the reason I'm here today. By December 2001, I had switched careers entirely. I was done with banking, and I got myself into the video game industry, where I've done lots of different jobs for various companies and made lots of different games. The game in question, as Stéfanie said, and the one that got me the invitation here, is a game called Deus Ex, Mankind Divided. People sometimes hear Day of Sex. That's not it. Deus Ex, it's Latin. Mankind Divided. This is a story about terrorism, transhumanism, which is the topic here, and perception. Those three things, and that's what I'm going to talk about today. Terrorism, but I'm sure you all know, asymmetrical warfare designed to change how people think and feel. A little bit of feelings going on today, that's good. Transhumanism, the merging of technology and humanity, specifically in our case, military-grade physical and social enhancements, and I'll get to that later. And finally, perception. A lot of my talk, I want to talk a little about perception, and I really mean by that narrative, how it's delivered, manipulated, tweaked, changed, injected into the minds of people to alter how they think and how they feel. To be honest, I'm suffering from a little bit of imposter syndrome right now. It's rare for me, but I'm probably the least educated person in this room. I do want to say I have tremendous respect for those who choose to serve their countries and keep people safe. So thank you for your service. I've never done anything, really, for my country. I pay taxes, that's it. I was a scout. That's as far as I went with my organized things. But the dreamer of me does think later someone's going to come to me and say, Jason, your country needs you. And I'm like, I knew it. I knew it. And I'm going to go on, General, Mrs. Secretary, Madam Secretary, Doctor, whoever you are. I'm listening. And then I'm part of some sort of think tank, using my narrative mastery of perception of people powers to save the world. Anyway, that's probably not going to happen, but it's a nice dream. I like it. Back to my game. Mankind Divided is set in a semi-futuristic dystopian world. Not generally my cup of tea. I'm a bit more of a romantic, but like Archie Goodwin said, don't thank me. I was against it, but now that it's a job, I'm all for it. One of the great powers of science fiction is the ability to alter or remove preconceived notions about people, allowing you to see them in a different light. Star Trek was great at this. Sometimes of stress, I think as Dr. Palmer said yesterday, people gravitate towards tribalism, and this is absolutely true. Us and them. The other people in the story of my game are those with physical enhancements, or as we call them, augmentations. I think one of the presentations called them augmentations. That's what we call them in the game, augmentations. So our story doesn't use race, country of origin, religion, belief system, anything like that. Our us and them is naturals and augmented. We even came up with horrible names to call them, like Aug, Clank, or Hanser. Hanser, enhanced, Hanser. Anyway, doesn't matter. Normally, stories begin with an inciting incident, those who study story design, an event from the outside that pushes the hero to take action, pursue a clear and visible goal, In our case, we called it the inciting explosion. Our story is a Stop the Terrorist story. It's pretty simple. Our hero, Adam Jensen, is caught in a terrorist attack in the Prague train station in the Czech Republic. It took me a year to spell Czech correctly, C then Z. That's not very natural, but now I can do it, no problem. Anyway, Adam survives the bombing, so now it's personal. It's good when stories are personal. And he investigates the attack as part of Interpol. Interpol doesn't technically do those kind of investigations, but it's a story, so that's fine. Ultimately, Adam uncovers a plot to blow up a building in London that is hosting an event for several important UN diplomats. UN, United Nations, that's my only acronym I'm using. I made sure that I only have one acronym, so everyone knows what I'm talking about. I was kind of lost during this. It's getting complicated, stick with me. The goal of the attack is to sway an upcoming vote in the United Nations that would legalize internment camps for augmented people all over the world. Hence, mankind divided, naturals and augmented. In the backstory of the game, in the previous prequel of the game, there was an event called the Aug Incident. So the Aug Incident was an attack where all the augmented people in the world were hacked, mind-controlled, and went on a killing spree. Millions of people died. So we're trying to scare people, of course. That's what science fiction does. Adam Jensen, our hero, is augmented, but he's one of the good ones, right? He has papers, he has documents, he's allowed to be around. And while most people around the game is happening in Prague, people who have been augmented have been rounded up into controlled camps. Adam has documents, special permission, and more freedom than most augmented people. He works with Interpol and he's investigating the crimes. But still, Adam faces discrimination by people. We wanted to examine how do people react when they're afraid of people. So we have tremendous power with these augmentations. How do people react to that? How do people he works with react to that? And how do people on the street, public, react to that? What the story is really about is power. The universe of Deus Ex is one where basically all conspiracy theories are true, which is terrifying. I don't really believe in conspiracy theories. I believe in human nature. Anytime more than 5 people agree on anything, I think it's a miracle, as this week, as I think it's shown to me. It's hard to get consensus on even a definition of culture, much less agreeing on a selected path to do anything. So nothing is that easy, so I don't particularly believe in conspiracy theories. But the most interesting part of the game for me, what we added, and one of the reasons I'm here, is to talk about the causality, the moral elements we added to the gameplay. For those who don't know, gameplay is a noun, even though Microsoft Word thinks that it is not. It is. Gameplay is all the contextualized interactions a player can make in a game: running, jumping, shooting, killing, getting ice cream, whatever. Most of the games I work on, hero goes somewhere, kills a bunch of people, learns something, goes somewhere, kills a bunch of people. Not super interesting, I get it. Deus Ex, you have military-grade augmentations. You even discovered that you have like hidden black ops augmentations, very exciting. You have a lot of power, and as you pursue the investigation, you of course uncover corruption everywhere. There's news media that's lying, government officials are lying, and you're trying to get to the truth of what's going on. In the game, you're given a wide range of moral actions you can take to accomplish the task and ultimately stop the terrorist. You can finish this game without killing anyone, which is only the second game in 15 years where this is true. The other being a game I worked on called Evergirl, where you planned a birthday party and you find out through your actions what kind of Evergirl you were like. My name is the first name in the credits of that game, and there you go. To this day, no one has contacted me to talk about Evergirl, but it did have a lot of the same core ideas that Deus Ex has, just without the budget or dark setting or good premise. To support the range of moral action we wanted for the game, we created a lot of different gameplay, stealth, computer hacking, and social interactions that would exist along with the traditional traversal and combat ones. So imagine that. In this game, you can talk to people, you can persuade them, threaten them, work with them, do favors for them. And as you do that, you bring forth and forward the causality of those decisions, and they pay off later in the story. Wow, pop filter is religion. This is very hard to do and extremely expensive. I picked one example specifically in the game, which was a crime boss named Otar Botkoveli. There's a lot of Russian dudes in this game. Anyway, Otar misses the old days. He thinks everyone now is impolite and too quick to violence, and he thinks men should meet, have a conversation. So one of the best parts of our game is something that we called debates. So one of the videos I want to show you is that one. Here's the one we made with Otar. It should be labeled social enhancement or something like that. Social something. Let's take a look.
Like I'm always telling you, Mano, People in all country are more genuine. They treat each other with respect. If a man has something to say, he says it to your face. Politely. That is what...
Go away, Clegg. We're closed.
Oh, he is not here to gamble, Vano. Are you?
You're Otar?
I am Mr. Botkovelli, yes. And who are you?
I'm here on behalf of a concerned third party.
Oh, you hear that, Vano? Our guest is a very private person.
I found it pays to be cautious when you don't know exactly who you're dealing with.
That is true. But sometimes it can create problems which could have been avoided had they been more forthcoming. If neither man is willing to compromise, they cannot reach a satisfactory understanding.
I would like to avoid any misunderstandings.
Good. So in this case, since you already know my name, and no doubt other things about me, I think you owe me the same courtesy.
I'm with Interpol, but I'm not here to cause any trouble. Organized crime is someone else's department. I'm here to pick up the shipment you're withholding from Václav Koller.
Vano, look. The only honest policeman in Prague. Koller must want this item very much to send someone like you. But I will tell you what I told Koller. No, he cannot have the calibrator, and you can't either. Dealing with Augs is bad business. A point which some people in this organization have yet to understand.
I see. You're a man of principle. A businessman who cares for the organization he's part of. But there's more to my being here than maybe you realize. Koller is a friend, and sometimes helping out a friend in need is good business.
You see, Vano, this is what I am always talking about. Loyalty. So tell me, Mr. Friendship, how far are you willing to go to help out a friend in need?
If someone needs my help, I give it. Any way I can.
It is like I am always telling him you can get a lot accomplished just by having a conversation. I will let you have the calibrator.
Thanks. And what's it gonna cost me?
Listen to the man, Vano. Even when he gets what he wants, he does not trust it. What shall we do with such a man? What will it cost? A favor.
What kind of favor?
Don't worry. I will let you know in due time. It won't be too painful. Not for you. So what do you say? Do we have a deal, Mr.
Jensen, we have a deal.
Excellent. Upstairs in my office, you will find Koller's calibrator. I will be in touch.
I love that. When you say yes, you give him his name. You give him your name. That's awesome. So this, to me, is one of the examples of the best of what we were trying to do in our game. That took like 6 months to do that. So, it takes a long time to put all the things and make sure that it makes narrative sense and the words make sense and the outcoming events can go on. So here, Adam, which is you, because you're trying to say what you would believe and what you would do. You're fully augmented. You have lethal, non-lethal weapons, but the train station bombing left you damaged. Otar, this guy, has what you need to repair your augmentations. The clock is ticking. Leads are getting cold. You have to track down the clues and uncover the site of the next bombing and save lives. Otar has what you need to help you do that. There's nothing stopping you from killing him. All his associates taking what you need or even sneaking in, stealing it, and getting out without anyone noticing you. But we give you another option, this social option, to do. And of course, there's still a little twist at the end. Even if you win, Otar wants a favor. This one setup can pay off in a bunch of different ways, my favorite being you help Otar overthrow the leader of his own crime family, Radic Nicolatsi, who himself is augmented and keeping it a secret. He was hired by the bad guys to smuggle bombs you've been tracking throughout the game to London, the target of the next attack. So Otar is disgusted by this cowardly behavior, and if you've befriended him, he tells you where the bombs were delivered, giving you the leads you need to stop the attack without killing anyone. So eventually you foil the bombing, and there are various ways the game can end. I can be here for 60 hours talking about that. I won't get into that. But after the credits, there's a scene which is one of my favorite parts of the game, not just because I wrote it, but because there are people in power fighting amongst themselves, scrambling to create a new plan, and you, the player, can take a little bit of satisfaction knowing that you disrupted the plans of these people who are trying to control the world. So I'll have you watch the next little video.
That is not the point. You should have all been informed.
That is why we are here now.
Volkart, what's done is done. The broad strokes of the operation were very clear and haven't changed. There are always adjustments that will occur in the field. You should know that.
Adjustments? Those were not mere adjustments.
Interpol was more capable than we anticipated. They have a new augmented agent by the name of
Adam Jensen,
who we believe may have had external help, possibly by the Juggernaut Collective or even Janus directly.
we're looking into it, but we...
All that is speculation at this point. Let's find out more and reconvene later this week. Thank you, everyone. That'll be all.
It's your own fault.
I'm aware of that, Doctor.
Elizabeth sends her regards.
Report.
Overall, the subject seems quite well adjusted despite the massive traumas he's experienced, and his memories are still consistent with the program. He is remarkably stable.
Excellent. How close is he to contact with Janus?
Very.
It's only a matter of time.
So we made a game out of free will, and the last thing we show you is, were you being controlled the whole time? And we don't answer the question. I like that scene because these guys have plans within plans, and we're making you doubt your own free will at the end, which is always fun. As I wrap this up, I'd like to say a few words on perception. Words are very powerful. We need to use them responsibly. What the Illuminati is doing in Mankind Divided is trying to control the narrative. And I think that's the war of the 21st century. War of perception. War for control of the narrative. Stories give us comfort, and they give us hope, but they can instill hate, paranoia, and everything in between. Stories say this is who we are as a group, as a people, this is what we do. Sometimes I drive down to Vermont or New York, I'm from Montreal, see cars with New Hampshire plates on there. Anyone from New Hampshire here? You'll know what I'm talking about. At the bottom of the license plate of New Hampshire, it says, live free or die. It's 4 words, it's a pretty clear narrative. So, I'm a big fan of American history because it's a great story. Washington, genius. Had the British treated colonial officers just a little bit better, there would be no United States of America. That it's the one person at the right moment. So what are the odds? You know, the Revolutionary War is not going very well. At the end, the Continental Congress said, George, it's up to you. You decide what we want to do. And cross the Delaware in the winter, assuming that mercenaries on the other side would be celebrating Christmas. He was right. So all these against all odds battles and stuff like that, that's a powerful narrative, and people, that resonates with people. There's not much better than winning when the odds are against you. Someone was talking about an unarmed, ill-equipped force, but they believe in something. That's an extremely powerful thing. There's nothing more powerful than that. So when all reasonable people say you should stop and surrender and you don't, you keep going and you fight through the pain, people find a way to win. That is very powerful. So stories are extremely powerful, so we need to keep that into consideration. I watched a lot of people talking, and I think General Rulo, is that it? Totally agree with that, and wherever Lenny is now, I 100% agree with him. And of course, I was super tempted, as everyone was talking, to rewrite my speech entirely, but I know myself, so I wrote it down so I wouldn't change everything. But I have a little thing here. A lot of people were talking about something that's actually, I find, quite terrifying, and I'm going to do a little conclusion now that is based on what you think. I hear a lot of talk of diversity and stuff like that. And people are always trying to find ways to be diverse, and that's great. But people are not even agreeing on what that definition is. What is it? What does that mean? And I'm all for adaptability, flexibility, inclusiveness. That's great. But if you fragment a group's identity too much, instead of a beautiful mosaic, you can end up with rubble. So people want to be a part of something. As an organization, you need to provide a culture. To me, my definition of culture, if I can hazard one, it's believing in certain stories, believing in a narrative. So don't surrender your control of the narrative over who the military is as a culture, because your enemies are not doing that. Your enemies have very simple, easy to understand purposes of why they're fighting. So there's a lot of talk of accommodation, and it's all negative. It's all what not to do, what not to be, and it's very difficult for the mind to process a negative. So I've heard very little in the past 2 days of this is who we are, this is what we do, this is why we do what we do. So I'd like to encourage you guys to have more of that.